Liftoff in 3, 2, 1.
Got it. Hi.
Cathy, how are you?
Doing well, thanks.
Well, thank you for doing this with me. I appreciate it.
Welcome.
Thank you. Well, first I want to welcome you to the Body Mind Index, and as every week, I'm your host, Jerry Pujals, and I am so excited and delighted to introduce what I see as a ray of sunshine. So I loved your energy, which is probably why I felt bold enough to just walk up to you and ask you at a cooking demonstration at True North if you would be so kind as to spend a little time with me.
Oh, sure.
Unlike any other podcast you've ever done, this presenter is not super prepared, and I haven't taken a deep dive into your background. I haven't done any of that, so I want to be real forthcoming with that and just letting you know that this comes from a different place. And it comes from a curiosity, and also from I've watched a handful of things that you've done on various podcasts and demonstrations that you've been involved with. The last time I was at True North in Santa Rosa, which was about 6 months ago, you were doing a demo there, and I didn't stay there long enough to not be quarantined, so I couldn't come see you. So I could only see you from my room, so I couldn't get to meet you. But I did see your demo from the room, and I tried some of the things at home, and I loved them. And then I bought the book at True North, your beautiful bound book. I've written a couple of books, and your cover is just, I can respect and appreciate the energy and effort that goes. Yeah, it's just gorgeous. Thank you for propping it up. I just love that book, and I love all the artistry that went into it. I can't imagine what it took to do that. My topic is real estate, so it's not as sexy as looking at food. I come from a background in produce wholesale. Before I ever got into real estate, I had a produce warehouse in the San Francisco produce market. I started that business when I started selling fruits and vegetables on the side of the street, Cathy, with $300. And in 8 years, it was a $28 million a year business. So I share that with you because I do have a background in all things natural produce, and I love I'm a half Cuban, half Puerto Rican guy that just grew up in areas that were somewhat of in comparison to California, there were produce deserts. You just get the thing. The first time I bit a tomato in California, I just thought I died and gone to heaven. You can eat a tomato like an apple here. Over there, you just don't find that the way that we do here. We're so spoiled with that. So again, all that to say that a lot of things that have led us to this moment come from a somewhat of a self-indulging place, because I always say that I have the luxury of doing the podcast because it's something that has become very near and dear to me, and it's because I enjoy it. And it's really because I want to find a reason to spend an hour with people that I really like and admire.
Yeah, why not?
And thank you for that. And then in my mind, I have this crazy fantasy that one day we'll get to hang around together at my place, and maybe we'll cook some cool things together. I'll do my Cuban version of things for you, and you can do your version of things for me, and you'll get to meet my wife Susan, who also watched your demo. The room was so cramped, we were tucked in a back little corner, and we usually don't sit through things. We did that day, and not only did we sit through it, we went home and we cooked everything on the sheets that you handed out, and everything was just perfect. Everybody at home just loved it.
Yay.
So I just find that fascinating. I've always been the type of cook that just wings it, as I do with everything in life, by the way. Just know that everything that I do is done with a spirit of sort of a daredevil type attitude. I just do and learn by doing rather than by waiting around and preparing to be ready. I do not suffer from analysis paralysis, which made me really successful in real estate. I don't know that it'll make me really successful in other things, but that's how I've lived, and that's how I do it. I recently went to try to summit Mount Whitney with very little training to do a 1 day. I started at 1 o'clock in the morning and came 1,000 foot short of the top, but that means that I went up 5,000 feet.
Okay.
So I see that as success, not as failure.
Yeah.
So again, now I'm so curious about you because, I've been a weight yo-yo. I look at Chef AJ and her success and things like that, and how she's been able to maintain a successful weight for a long time, and through whole food, plant-based eating. And I started doing this shortly before last Thanksgiving, so less than a year, and I've lost close to 80 pounds now. And
Wow.
now I'm just trying to summit Mount Whitney in a day, which I couldn't have. I had so much back pain a year ago that I couldn't hardly walk to the corner. And a lot of it is, I give 95% of all credit to whole food, plant-based way of eating without salt, oil, and sugar. And I took out caffeine and alcohol out of the equation as well. So I find myself living my best life because of all of this. And I find myself also kind of trying to get everybody to jump on board. And now I'm learning it doesn't work that way. It's really just about being and giving them space. But I just like to have the conversation with you about topics.
Heck yeah. I'm open. I'm an open book. I was just, as I told you before, I just got my hair cut this morning, and my hair cutter lady was saying that everybody always wants her to give them haircuts, people in the family, and and that's the way it's always been. Nobody in my family wants help with what I do. I wish they did. I mean, my mom, she's kind of on board, but it's nice to be asked, if people want to know, but they just don't really come around that often, and people wanting to change their diet. So but I get a lot of that at True North where I work, and people who are open and ready to learn how to change their diet. And then, as you saw, once you taste the food, you realize, oh, this just tastes like regular delicious food. So
oh, I love it. I actually had, on my drive back from True North this last time a couple of weeks ago, I was thinking, wouldn't it be cool? I wrote those 2 books. One of them did really well, and I spoke at over 500 venues. Imagine that, over 500 venues in 1 year. So that was a lot of time in an airplane.
yeah.
So I was able to cut my teeth on motivational speaking and talking to salespeople and trying to get them excited about being an independent contractor and going out there every day without a steady check, right? So you're trying to get people encouraged by doing something that's super scary. But I just thought, God, would it be cool if, I've had some conversations with Dr. Goldhammer. I've had him on the podcast, and I thought, God, would it be cool if the idea of doing something like that, I'm so close to Santa Rosa, doing something like that, even once a month or something like that, and going there and just maybe coming at it from a little bit of a motivational standpoint, because I think you do a great job with that. I think in your talking, you're motivating and inspiring people. I think Dr. Lyle does them. I've had him on the podcast too, and he's so funny and so light and airy to listen to. There's no trying to fit a square peg in a round hole.
Right.
That's where I meet myself with resistance. I don't know if you ever read a book called The Art of War. No, sorry, the War of Art. There is The Art of War, but there is a book that I find fascinating called the War of Art. And it talks a lot about resistance, and we're met with resistance a lot of times by the energy that we carry in ourselves, And if I'm out there preaching about this, well, the first thing is that when you're preaching, people are just casting doubt, and they're like, it's probably not for me.
Right.
But then I also find myself talking to people that have coronary issues, diabetes. People in my family have had toes amputated, things like that. And you're like, man, if you knew how close you were to something better. And a lot of people equate alcohol, caffeine, all those things as fun. and communal. And if I don't get to do that with my family and friends, then what else is there? And when I try to get across, maybe by expressing it in some different ways, and even some of it through this podcast, and I try to create shorts about what I eat every day, and I do some little shorts about, hey, try eating this instead of this, or these type of things. If by doing that, you know, and I've had people call me. I had one friend of my wife's just called me, and she says, "Oh my God, my blood pressure dropped by a ton just by cutting out the salt, and now I'm not craving the stuff that was hooking me back in."
Yep.
That to me is like, hey, I'll keep doing this all day long just for that. If I can continue to meet people like you who get it, I'm just happy to do it.
Yay.
What got you here? What got you? Did you have a weight? You don't look like there's ever been a weight issue, but what got you here?
Yeah, it wasn't weight. It was my dairy intolerance. And I was talking to a friend of mine about it long ago. And she suggested that I read one of Dr. McDougall's books because he's also plant-based. So no dairy. So I read one of his books and that was it. He just made sense to me. And I gave up the dairy foods. And then I felt much better, of course. And then as time went on, I gradually kind of just eliminated other things from my diet, kind of with the easiest things first, things that I didn't really care about, like steak and chicken. I love seafood, so I had sushi in there for a while. But it was a gradual process. So that's why I got into it, is because my dairy intolerance gave me very painful stomach aches. And you would have, I look back and I think, didn't you just know to like not eat dairy foods? Because you kind of know the connection. But I guess I was just looking for something that said it was okay and it was safe and it was still nutritious to not eat dairy. And that was Dr. McDougall. And he's such a great writer. He just wrote it so easily to understand. And that was it. So I was on my way and I never looked back, and I would, get off track a little once in a while, but I never wanted to stay off track. In fact, if I got off track, it usually motivated me to get back on track with my good eating, because I would get a stomach ache or something would just be like, ugh, that's not good. Often you think it's going to be good. Oh, I'm going to have this little treat. And then you have it and you're like, man, it doesn't taste that good to me, because our palates change, So, yeah, I did a lot of like getting off, getting back on. And this is my 24th year of being plant-based. So I've pretty much learned that this is the way, just stay the way. It's not perfection. It's just a very steady journey on the path toward optimum health, because that's what I want. I want to feel good. I've always been motivated by feeling good. When I was younger, I was sick a lot. So I think that helped motivate me. So I really thank my difficult stomach and my dairy intolerance for leading me to this way of eating, because I just love it.
Well, you always enjoy cooking?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, when I was a teenager, I enjoyed making sweets because I'm a sweet tooth. So I would enjoy making cookies and cakes, and I got into cake decorating and all that. So not so much savory stuff. And then once I became an adult, did I enjoy cooking? Not really. I mean, when I got a job in 2010 for the McDougall program, just helping out with the administrative stuff, not cooking. And then a few years later, no, McDougall was in 2007. Then in 2010, they needed a cooking instructor at True North. So I met with Dr. Goldhammer and I showed him some pictures of things that I had made. And he hired me, and I just started making the recipes out of the health promoting cookbook. That's his cookbook. And then after a while, I thought, oh, well, maybe I could come up with my own recipes. So I just started figuring it out. I didn't know how it worked or how you did that. I didn't know how a cooking class worked or what kinds of things you needed to bring to a cooking class. I just figured it out as I went. And luckily he had faith in me. So I've been there 13 years and I just love it. It's just the best job because you get to feed people. People always love it when you're giving them food. And then you see how happy they get and how they're learning. They're just like kind of like little kids. They're just soaking it up. So it's such a fun job for me to teach people how to eat. And often it's just the wife or the husband or the mother or something who's there. And then they taste the food and they think, oh, my husband would eat this or my teenagers would eat this. And it just starts snowballing because I think a big barrier is the perception that healthy food won't taste good. But that's just so incorrect. So once you get it into people's mouths, then the wheels start turning and they're like, okay, I don't just have to eat salad all the time. It doesn't have to be boring. In fact, my specialty is taking traditional comfort food recipes and just giving them a makeover so that they taste delicious and are also health promoting. That's a big phrase that we use at True North, health promoting. We don't want to give you health harming things, neutral things, fine, but we really want to promote good health with the fuel that we put into our body, right? This is our carrying case for a whole life. We have to treat it nicely. So we have
you said a lot there, and let me just kind of break down some of the nuances of what I picked up. So I picked up fearless in you because you, similar to me, you didn't have analysis paralysis. You just threw yourself at this thing without having this incredible love for cooking that a lot of people do when they end up writing cooking books, right?
Yeah, I just needed a job.
Yeah.
And I wanted a job in the plant-based world. So it was like, okay, I'll give this a try. So
you do it that well, because now what I want to also, the other nuance that I want to highlight is, I was watching you present. So I've done so much of that, that it's always a work in progress. Presenting never, the learning of presenting, even the best presenters in the world are constantly working on that craft. And I cannot imagine what it would be like to present a cooking demonstration. I have to imagine that's probably so challenging because there's so many bits and pieces, and is the garbage can in the right place? Did the kitchen staff bring something out for me? Did they forget it when I told them 3 times to bring it out? I mean, in my mind, I'm processing all that. And then you get a coughing attack right in the middle of the presentation. And I was
rarely happened. Maybe
but I was dying for you. I'm like, oh my God. How do I help? I have to help my sister in arms. How do we help her? And you just had to work through it, and you did it so well. You did not highlight it. You didn't make a huge deal out of it. You sort of laughed at yourself a little bit, walked out of the room, continued to cough in a different room, and then walked back in. And it just continued. And everybody it was so endearing. Another reason why it made you so endearing, that I just thought, God, I just want to meet this person that's just able to navigate through this whole thing, and it's flawless. I mean, you definitely wasn't your first rodeo. You can do this with your eyes closed, I can tell.
Yeah, well, working around food too, I didn't want anybody to get nervous that I was.
How you handled that? Yeah, it was so hygienic too.
Yeah, well, I'm a pretty calm person, so yeah, I just did it, came back in. Oh, that's awful when you have a little tickle in your throat and you don't have any water nearby. But yeah, I just love it there. And when I started teaching there, I was not that fluid and calm and easy. And it was just like, pour a half cup of this into this. It was very literal. But the year after I started teaching at True North, 2010, in 2011, I joined Toastmasters, which I'm sure you know what that is. It's an international speaking club. And I was a member thinking that it would help me be a better teacher. And it most definitely helped. The two kind of reinforced each other. But I was a member of Toastmasters for 9 years. And I just loved it. So if anyone out there is afraid of public speaking, join a local Toast. They're all over the world. There's clubs all over the world. But it made me you still get I don't get nervous at True North, but if I'm giving a speech or something, I still get nervous, but now I'm excited. And like the more people, the better. It's just, it changed me from being a fearful person about that. So, and it makes you more confident and all of that, which probably comes through when I'm teaching at True North. So
I have to say my two greatest fears are public speaking and flying were my two greatest fears. And public speaking, I think led to the books. The books led to flying. And so then a book by a woman named, she's then passed away. I actually was hoping to bring her on as a guest because I loved her book so much. Her name was Suzanne Jeffers, and she wrote a book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyways.
oh yeah.
That's a book that if anybody has a fear of public speaking or a fear of anything, it's a book that I think anybody should be happy to read, because it really empowers you to understand where fear comes from and why there is analysis paralysis. But yeah, it's game changing. And I would also, to what you said, encourage people to, people like you or even myself who have been professionals in the realm of public speaking and been paid for it. That's what defines a professional, I guess, is the minute you've been paid to go speak. There's a group in South City in South San Francisco called Pro Toasties, which is literally only for professional speakers. And if you want to feel on the hot seat, be critiqued by professional speakers. It's a whole other level. I will tell you, Toastmasters, it's exactly where you want to start if you haven't done any professional public speaking. Is so nurturing and so gentle, and it just really eases you right in.
That's the best thing I found about Toastmasters is the people, because it's just this melting pot of people who are also all nervous, and they're just very reassuring and very supportive. It's great. Yeah.
Yeah, I've had full blown, I suffer from anxiety and panic attacks, and I've had, in front of 500 people, I've had a full blown panic attack and had to walk off stage. So it's real. Life happens and things will happen to different people. Is at the end of the day is what you're willing to expose yourself to, even at the cause of an anxiety attack. It's just life. It doesn't feel good, but nor should it, because I always believe, I don't know if you feel the same, Cathy, that when you explore and you throw yourself at something that feels so scary, the rewards on the other side are, you can't even imagine. Thank you.
Totally scary, totally big, totally
big. That's big.
Anxiety. Yeah.
Yes, that's big. That's big. I mean, the detail that goes into what you did, the books that I wrote are literally written off of my practice. So I can literally just sit there with a ghostwriter and just do a brain dump and a book comes out. Okay. What you did is entirely different. It's scientific, and it requires measuring. It requires making sure you're not making an error and that a recipe comes out wrong on a book that's already printed. I can't even imagine.
Yeah, well, luckily I self-published, so if I do find a problem, I can always change it.
Yes, there's always a new edition.
Yeah. It was probably, I kind of joke that it was not joke, that it was harder than college, because you just don't know what you don't know. So you just get into it thinking we'll figure it out as we go, which I did. But it's like an octopus. There's just so many arms and things and people and
how long did it take you?
It took like a good year and a half.
That's pretty fast.
While I was doing my other work. So not 8 hours a day, but I already had a lot of the recipes on my website by the same name, straightupfood.com. So I chose from those recipes and then added some new ones that weren't on the website. But yeah, cookbook is it.
Your website, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Your website is beautiful. It's just beautiful.
Thank you. Yeah, I'd been doing the website long before the book came out. So I had experience with writing up recipes, taking nice pictures of food, all that kind of stuff. So a lot of what I already had done, and I've also worked as a writer and an editor at magazines. So I thought, not that it would be easy, but that I have a lot of good skills in my background that could help me with a book like this, which it did. But it's still just such a big project when you are at the top of the decision pile and you have to decide, you just get tired of making decisions. And then, like you said, a cookbook is just a different animal. It's little tiny, so many little tiny pieces, and you have to be consistent throughout the recipes of how you're describing a half cup onion, or you have to be consistent, because I don't know about you, if you've ever read any poorly edited cookbooks, it's just a little disconcerting. So yeah, and having been an editor, I hired an editor to help me go through everything and create a style sheet and do all this stuff. So so I'm really glad I did it. It made me a stronger person, to let me know I can do hard things. And it's been out for over 6 years, and just, yeah, learning something new, like you say, being afraid and doing it anyway. So I did it anyway. I still haven't done book number 2 because I'm still afraid, but I'm sure I will. I'm sure I'll get through that at some point.
If you ever want a co-project, I'm always open for insanity. So maybe
Okay.
when we get to know each other a little more, I would love to. I would love to be part of a project like that. I would just love it. I would love to be not only the guinea pig, I would love to be a laborer in the process and test things and have people try them and get my community of people to come over to my house and say yay or nay. Whatever you need help with, I will put myself out there right now. I have an interestingly odd background for where I come from. I've had a lot of exposure to things that are spiritual. To my mother, my father's Cuban, my mom's Puerto Rican. I call my mom the only, not the only, that's a silly thing to say, but she's a Puerto Rican hippie, I will say. And my mother is actually an ordained Swami now. So my mom's been practicing yoga since I was 12 years old, and obviously she's very involved in that. And I had an opportunity to be part of an ashram for some time when I was a teenager, early teenager, and I've been exposed to just amazing cuisines from India and things like that. My sister is a very successful photographer, photographed weddings in India as well, and things like that. Even though we have no Indian background in our DNA, we even have spiritual names given to us by our Swami and things like that. So we had some really colorful exposure amongst a very dysfunctional upbringing. So with that being said, it has led us to become broad thinkers and open to things that are hard, because nothing's ever been easy, and we appreciate things that are hard. So I just love the idea of yeah, one day doing something that's not hard. I'm only, like I say, less than a year into this process, but because of that palette that is built over years, I always intellectually knew that this was the right way to go. I tipped my toe in the water with Dr. McDougall eons ago. It was one of my yo-yo diets, and it sort of worked, but then what didn't work was me. It was never the diet, it was me. As diets did for, although, and at 18 years old, I was a commercial model for a modeling agency in New York City. If you can believe that, I'm 56 years old now. And from a thin teenager to 170 pounds going to a 280 pounds, and down and up and down. And it's always been like that, and so unsteady that when I listened, actually started with Joe Furman. Mm-hmm. And I ran into, it's a Sherry at the Watery Mouth. I don't know if you know who she is. She's kind of the one that started me, and I think she's the one that has Chef AJ on her show. And that's what led me to Chef AJ. But I started like hardcore Furman G-bombs, and that's how I started. I dropped 40 pounds in 60 days. Then because of Chef AJ, I ran into Goldhammer, and I called Goldhammer and I told him, listen, this is what's happened. I've lost 40 pounds. I just realized that True North is less than an hour away from me. I thought you were across the country or somewhere else. I thought True North was this unreachable spot. And when I discovered he was there, I called him. And then he was so funny because he says, oh, I don't want you now. You've already lost those first 40 pounds. He's like, yeah, I wanted you 40 pounds ago. But I had already connected with SOS Free. And I was grateful to go to True North and explore some more. And then just just sit there and have food prepared for you all day long, because that's probably one of the biggest challenges for people is, you're not stopping by the deli to pick up a sandwich. You really are nourishing yourself. And I also believe wholeheartedly now that this journey starts with ourselves caring for ourselves. If we expect our significant other to pick it up and go shopping for us or cook for us or do those things, I think that's a big ask, don't you?
Yes, you absolutely have to take responsibility for your own health. No, a doctor is just one spoke on the wheel. You're the person who knows your body best and can do the most for your health. Yeah, like Dr. McDougall used to say, I'm sure you remember, you want to stay out of the medical business. You want to stay away from the doctors. It's not that they're bad people, they just don't teach health in medical schools. So we want to be healthy. We don't want to just put band-aids on things, and we don't want things to progress that far where we're looking for band-aids. So prevention, yeah, this is just whatever goes in the mouth, it's got to help it, support this amazing body. Do you think about that, Jerry? How amazing the body is and how receptive it is to just the smallest positive step that we take toward better health. It's like, oh yeah, let's go. Like within a couple of days, your body starts changing and working better, feeling better, sleeping better, all those things. So
you're so right, because what is funny about, a lot of my friends were like, oh, you lost 40 pounds in 60 days, that's all water weight. Excuse me, the body wants to red all that excess fat, excess water, because it's inflammation, because there's so much going on. The body's just saying, yuck, get it out, because since you're feeding me all this amazing stuff and I'm getting all these micronutrients, phytonutrients, everything that we know we're getting, all of a sudden the body's just fixing itself. It's totally ridding itself of all these toxins. And we want to justify something that's working by putting it down and saying, oh, it's just water weight. So then the weight continues. So what I did to sort of debunk that, Cathy, I started getting DEXA scans. So after the 40 days, I went and got my first DEXA scan to really start reading. And it's the most accurate procedure out there, which is basically getting under this radioactive, thing that just really scans your body for body composition. Mm-hmm. And I would do it every couple of months. I've done 3 of them, and I just sat down with Dr. Wise at True North. And he's looking at that thing and he's going, oh my God, man, you're literally, you could just see the fat just melting. And all that's left is muscle, bone density, and all the good stuff. And then I had them draw blood work and everything's looking, I'm a guy that I really tiptoed with becoming pre-diabetic. I was really right at the edge of prediabetes. I definitely had hypertension, because that's what scared me enough to start this in the first place. When my doctor, right before Thanksgiving last year, in a physical said, your blood pressure is really high. Let's come back tomorrow. I think maybe you're nervous because of the white coat thing or whatever. Mm-hmm. I didn't come back tomorrow, Cathy, because I know at 280 pounds, I knew what tomorrow was going to look like. And I knew I was going to get a prescription.
Yes. You know what, Jerry, I heard this quote recently, and it said, if you don't change your lifestyle will change you. And I love that. And I heard it on the Plant Strong podcast from like 2 interviews ago. But I just thought, wow, that's such a good way to put it. So, and they also have that saying like pay now or pay later. So we could pay now for all these luscious, amazing organic fruits and vegetables, or we could pay later when we're ill. Paying money, paying time at the doctor's, paying not feeling good in our body. Yeah, we want to live a long time, but we also want to feel good while we're doing it, even when we're in our 70s and 80s and 90s. We want to feel good. We want to be one of those people that dies in our own house, in our own bed, and while we're sleeping one night. We don't want to have diseases.
There's something about that health span opposed to a lifespan, and boy, keeping that health span going till the end is so critical.
Yeah, because you don't feel good, can't move good, can't see good, whatever. Nothing else is going to be that fun or interesting or easy. Or yeah, I mean, I still want to do lots of things in my life. We're the same age.
Oh,
Yeah.
you look so young.
So do you.
Thanks.
Yeah, so I want to keep it going. I want to keep it going for a long time. I had a grandmother, my dad's mother, who ever since I can remember, she was in a wheelchair. So maybe that had something to do with it, just seeing that grandma was so limited in what she could do. She had very bad rheumatoid arthritis. And I think a diet like this probably would have helped her feel a little bit better. But maybe that and being sick as I was growing up, I just really wanted to feel good. And you know how you've heard of these people like, I have a really high pain tolerance. I'm the opposite. I have a really low pain tolerance and I don't like feeling bad. So if there's something I need to eat or do, I've even gotten better at my exercise as I'm getting older because I have to, not because it's just fun or whatever. Now, if I don't do it, I feel it. So I just like to feel good and I like to do lots of different things. I've always been like that. And whenever I'm sick, oh my, it's the end of the world. I can't wait till I'm better again. It's just awful. So I try not to get sick very often. And when I do get sick, it's usually like I'm down a couple days and then I'm back up. Except for COVID, that got me. That got me for a couple weeks, but
Same here.
yeah, but I came out. I came out with a renewed sense of life. Like 2 weeks sick, I was just like, yoo-hoo, life is good. That's how it always happens when you're done being sick. You're like, I'm alive. Yay. It's so good. Anyway.
Me is the fear of something keeping me from hiking. I have a passion. I did the John Muir Trail without training, as I do anything in life. I did the John Muir Trail, a solo trip, 230 miles, about 5 years ago. And I was overweight, quite overweight when I did it, with a 60-pound backpack to start out with. And I learned on the trail that you didn't need that much weight to do the John Muir Trail. And a 17-year-old young woman helped me shed 30 pounds off my pack because she told me everything I didn't need. So you can learn from anybody and everybody because there's so many people with more experience in so many aspects. And but that was the other thing, that I did that trail because I also had a fear of being alone at night. So I thought, what better way to face that than going on the John Muir Trail for 17 days by yourself? And I've developed this passion for hiking and all things hiking. I just love it. I'll do it alone. I'll do it with people. I'll do it as often as I can get away. I just love, and the thought of not having that movement. And the only reason I'm sort of in lower back recovery right now is because I've really gotten into running, and more than running, I've got into trail running and sort of speed running down hills. And I went running with a new friend of mine who's a longtime boxer and better shape, older than me, but in way better shape than me. And the speed that we picked up coming down the hill literally tweaked my back a little bit, but now I'm having to learn recovery. And what's bizarre is that I'm learning recovery. You know, I'm doing exercises that I never thought I'd do. I'm not doing push-ups, I'm doing bridge push-ups, backwards push-ups. You know, just to build muscles in the back, on the back of the shoulders, to also strengthen my lower back by doing lower back bridges and things like that you just start developing. And I'm just learning that, boy, I don't need pain suppressant. I don't need Advil. I don't need anything like that, because all I have to do is just work. That pain is telling me something. And I'm learning so much by just listening to that pain, not just masking it, because masking it is the problem. We keep masking all these things so then we can live like Wall-E. You know that movie Wall-E? That people just get to move around and everything comes to them.
Yeah.
As a society, we have to stop doing that, because that's what's in front of us right now, is everything comes to us. We don't go to anything.
I know. Oh, like the phone, the cell phone. I've been working lately
It's hard.
it's very hard in the Netflix and the YouTube and all this stuff. But yeah, I've been kind of trying to limit it, and it's been yielding positive results and feelings. So it has its place, but yeah, I just don't like that feeling that something has a hold over me. It's just, don't like it. Yeah.
I'm totally with you. I feel I do feel like it's defeating me in some ways, and I don't like to be defeated like that. And I know that it's, now, we drive electric cars that start with the phone. So we literally, all of our credit cards are in the phone. So now we don't even have a wallet. The phone is the wallet. The phone is the key to the car. The phone is the key to the house. The phone is, so it's become to where it's not just a phone. It's an appendage. You don't ever lose your phone anymore, do you? You can't, because you're so aware of it. Remember the days when we would lose our phones?
That's a good point. No, I never lose my phone.
No, you can't lose your phone, because every 3 minutes you're looking for it.
Well, it's either in the kitchen, it's in its places. So yeah, I never lose my phone, and I've never put a password on my phone, which is really I know kind of risky, but when I travel, maybe I will. But it just bothers me to no end that I'm spending 3 seconds every time I open my phone. It's like an efficiency thing. So if I'm going somewhere where it's worrisome, I'll put it on there. But and I wonder if more people are not doing passwords because we're picking up the phone so much more. I don't know. But yeah, that phone. I've got the phone. I've got the iPad. I recently took all social media off my phone. I even learned how to take the browser off my iPad, which I keep by my bed, so I can listen to audiobooks as I fall asleep. Because if it's there, if that, YouTube or Safari or whatever is there, I will find something to look at just to do it. So bad, so bad. So I'm actively trying to get away. When I'm done on this laptop, it goes back in the closet, because I will just sit here and zone out. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of audiobooks, but then I also get annoyed by all the outside interference that comes in while you're listening to something, and the bill. And now, I have a real nice watch for running and things like that. And I was so happy when I got it, because it was not an Apple Watch, so it doesn't tie into my phone. But now this watch has actually figured out a way to tie itself into my phone by one of the updates that it did on itself. So now I'm seeing some of the text come to my watch, and I don't want to see that when I'm out there running. I don't want to know that anybody's trying to get a hold of me at that moment.
Do you think that things, how everything's swinging? Do you think things are going to swing to the point where people get kind of just tired of it? I just feels like it's going that way, but I don't know if that's possible like that.
I don't know that it's possible, but it's definitely, there's going to be a value. And in some cases, it's happening already, where if you call some business and they actually pick up their phone, there's going to be a value for that.
Yeah.
But, there's going to be a value someday where people on the other side of a register have a personality and have to greet you nicely. There's going to be a value for that. I think, there's a generation that has really unfortunately lost the sense of, courtesy and all those things that we used to have when we were kids, or we were told were important. You and I deal with a generation right now that it doesn't matter. They haven't even been trained on how to do that. You go to Whole Foods, Jeff Bezos doesn't want us in the store. He'd rather deliver to us. We're the only problem with the store. You see how many shoppers that there are in the store? We're getting in the way of the personal shoppers. The stores are really just warehouses.
I never thought of it that way.
Oh yeah, try going, every time I go through the cash register at Whole Foods, it's a huge bill. And because I love sharing and inviting friends and family over, my grocery bills we don't eat out. So ever since I started, we don't even think, there's not a restaurant in Napa Valley that could possibly cook the way that I eat, unless there's 2 places that I found that will appease me and literally boil pasta and water that has not been salted or oiled. So there's only 2 places out of 200 and something restaurants in this valley that would do that for me.
I'm the same way. I'm really not eating out anymore. And in Santa Rosa, where I am most of the time, I know my 2 places where I can go. And One of them has a McDougal menu. You know how some Mexican restaurants have a
It's like that. You got to tell me about that.
Yeah, it's called El Patio. It's in Santa Rosa. There's two of them actually. And so I liked going to El Patio on occasion because you can get oil-free, plant-based, maybe not salt-free, but they don't seem like they oversalt things. So it's pretty good. But it kind of hit me one day as I get older, I keep refining that they're probably not using any organic food there because they're a restaurant. They're trying to, I mean, some restaurants use organic food, but you know it because they broadcast it and they charge extra for it. So I love El Patio, but I just thought, oh, this is kind of lower quality stuff, which is good. It's fine once in a while, but no. I was in the habit of like once a week going there and getting my rice and beans and tomatoes and salsa and stuff. But in a pinch, I often talk, and maybe you remember from my class, my special occasion / once in a while category. So there's a spectrum, I'm usually eating right in here, but once in a while, I'll have something that has salt in it when I'm eating out, or I'll eat something kind of vegan and decadent if I'm eating out, but it's not part of my everyday plan. And even lately, like when I do have the once in a while treat, I'm like, why did I do that? They're always more expensive. They have all kinds of junk in them. And then I often feel like kind of, ugh, not a stomach ache, but just kind of, ugh, or I can feel the sugar in my teeth. It's just so sometimes it takes many times of like jumping up and jumping back on before you really get it. That's like with cheese. When I first long ago went plant-based, everybody loves cheese. So I would say, oh, I've been doing so well on my plant-based diet. I'm going to have some cheese or something that has dairy in it. And then I get a raging stomach ache, like even worse than before. So I did that maybe like 10 times. And then like, okay, no cheese for you ever. No cheese for you. No vegan cheese, because that also gives me a stomach ache. Just don't do cheese. And then after a while, you forget about it and you don't crave it anymore.
Yeah, and I've gotten to the point where I'm so happy that I don't even crave a plant-based cheese because I see it as a processed food.
Very processed, any kind of burgers and hot dogs and soy things that look like meat. I just avoid all those. I have eaten them though when I transitioned.
When you're stuck.
Yeah, or when I was just starting out, like Boca burgers were my buddy, and all that. But dry cereals, I get the healthier dried cereals, like the puffed rice but I don't even get any dried cereals anymore because I just want to eat it all in 2 days. Same with bread. And then I just do like porridges, hot porridges in the morning. I love breakfast. So I know some people do savory breakfasts, but I love like an oatmeal with a fruit on it and a little soy milk and cinnamon, and I change the kind of porridge I eat from day to day, like buckwheat and millet and brown rice and steel cut oats and regular oats and all this. So you kind of don't get bored.
I've already made two whole batches of your rice pudding. So one right away when I came home right after, and then one like 3-4 days ago before we just went on a camping trip to we went to Point Reyes, and it was just so beautiful. We had 3 magical days out in that area. And one of the days in Point Reyes, what I had for breakfast was cold rice pudding with cinnamon on it right out of the cooler. And the rest of the group was looking at me because they had that at the house, and they were literally looking at me like, really? You just brought one of those for yourself? I just brought one. And but I gotta tell you, the reason I had such a silly smile when you were saying that story, when you're talking about treats and all that. You know what could possibly become a treat for my family?
What?
It's just a portion of the rice pudding recipe. Cathy, just the dates blended with the nut milk.
Yeah.
Oh God. That's like the best, tastiest drink ever.
That's like sweet and fat.
Oh, it's so good. It's like when I was letting my daughter-in-law, my wife, and my son came in and tasted that, they're all like, oh, we want more of that drink. drink's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. Did you ever go to Cafe Gratitude?
Oh God, are you kidding? Not only did we go to it, I did for a year. I gained weight on a raw vegan diet because I was cooking off of their book.
They made the most decadent things, and one of them,
The Alfredo sauces.
I don't remember that, but I remember those $10 smoothies, and they'd be made with almond milk and dates and something else, but they were like heavenly and expensive, but they were so good.
They would
Yeah,
make a cheesecake, and we made it at home. It was unbelievable. And the Alfredos were made out of cashews.
we use a lot of cashews, but they used a lot of coconut oil as well, which we don't.
I
Um,
gained a lot of weight. I thought there was going to be my secret to losing weight was going to be I would make veggie pâtés that would have so many calories in them.
yeah, yeah, exactly. But I have cheese, plant-based cheesecake recipes on my website that are high in calorie, but they're in my special occasion category. And I've gone to not really teaching stuff like that at True North, like showing it because it makes people go a little nutty. So um, there's a time and place for a little nutty decadence.
Yeah.
But I try to use my time when I'm at True North to show things that people could make on an everyday basis. Because sometimes people only get one or two of my classes while they're there. So I like to give them like, okay, this is what you can make as soon as you get home, all the time. It's not like a special recipe that you'll just pull out once in a while.
I felt your sensitivity to that because I'm very much a food addict. So I do use food to cope. I don't, again, never indulge in a lot of alcohol. Drugs have never been a thing. Anything, marijuana, I've never been an indulger in anything to bring me down, but food would definitely do the trick. And so I was feeling your sensitivity towards us when you were talking that way and like saying, yeah, I felt it. I really appreciated it, just so you know.
Thank you. And the reason that I maybe earlier this year kind of shifted more that way is because of a comment by a student like you in one of my classes. It was very nice, but it was along the lines of, this is great, but what can we eat when we get home? I was probably making like a carrot cake or a pancakes or something like that. So I let people know that they are in the book and on the website for once in a while treats. I mean, you could eat them every day. They're high in calories, so you're going to gain weight. Most people are trying to lose weight, but most people also want something for special occasions. They want to make a cake for their kid's birthday or a pancake that's pretty healthy.
Yeah,
So
no, I think you have to cover the rainbow because there are all different kinds of people that come to True North for all different kinds of reasons. It's not all weight related. I've met some fascinating people there with lupus, with real issues that they have to address. And one of the things that I learned about my wife is, how Susan, maybe more similar to you, where Susan doesn't have an addiction to food. She is lactose intolerant, and I don't think she respects that as much as she should. I think she would agree. She'll throw herself at a pizza and have one little piece. She doesn't have to have two pieces. But then I hear her the next day that it wasn't a good idea, and you hear that often if she eats the wrong thing. But for some reason, she still indulges. So yeah, I just find it fascinating that what I learned at True North was that to be more sensitive to other people's way of eating, and if Susan needs animal protein, then not to judge it, and she likes fish too and all that, and if she's in this part of her journey, this is what she needs to have, then that's what she needs to have. I can respect that, and I'll tell you why I think I can respect it now much more than I can understand it early on in this journey, was because for the first few months I was still going through the withdrawals of getting the salts and the oils and the sugars out of my system. It was hard for the first few months, so I was particularly challenging during those first couple of months for anybody to live with, because I was really, really struggling. And what I tell you now that has set me free is that, would you believe that there are times that I put raspberries in my salad and I almost complain that they're too punchy and too sweet?
Yeah. Oh,
People-
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, your taste buds change, your brain, it all is changing with what you're putting in your mouth. So yeah, if I'm eating out and I have salt or something has oil on it, it doesn't taste awful. It's just like, ooh, it's just too much because I'm not used to it. So if you're watching this and you're thinking, I'm never gonna like that kind of food, or I'm gonna miss my foods that I love, you have to have that space of faith that it's going to happen. Like Dr. McDougall would always say, people would say, it's not working for me. He knew 100% of the time. It's not the diet, it's you. So he would ask people, well, tell me in detail, what are you eating? And they'd suss it out and find out what they were eating, what that they shouldn't be eating. But that's a real point for people is you got to know that you're going to change and you're not going to miss those foods. It doesn't mean you won't like those foods should they cross your palate. It just means they won't be bothering you, and asking you for more and more. That's another reason not to go off path too often, because every time I go off and then I get back on, it's bugging me. Like, you had this yesterday. Let's have it again today. So it's just easier if you can manage not to go off, because that voice is so strong, even now after so many years. So blah, blah, blah. Anyway.
I believe time is our friend. The more time goes by, the easier it gets. And I try to tell that to people that ask me about it or that want to tip their toe in the water is just give it time and you will feel better. Time is the one thing that will help.
And the analogy to that is learning a new language.
Yes.
So if you're trying to learn a new foreign language, you're not going to expect to know it in a week. You got to just put in the time. You have to be consistent, just like learning a foreign language. You can't put in 2 days, 1 month, 2 days the next month. You got to do it pretty much every day. So stuff can be recalibrating up here. Yeah, consistency is the key. But now, again, since I've been doing it so long, if I go to a party and I eat some kind of decadent vegan food, I'm kind of ready to get back on my regular way of eating. Because it just works for me. You find what works for you. Everybody's different. Even within the plant-based realm, we're all doing it a little bit differently. Some things sit better with some people. I have a friend, she doesn't eat corn. Even if it's organic, she won't eat corn, maybe because it makes her feel kind of funny. Everybody's digestive tract is a little different. So that's why I say at True North, you got to find listen to what we're saying, how we do it here at True North, but find a way that works for you. Like, I don't like hot and spicy. A little moderate heat I can do, but like pain on my mouth, I do not do. So I always tell people, if you like hot and spicy, by all means add it, even if it's not in the recipe. And by the way, Jerry, I don't know if we've explained what True North is. We're talking about it all the time, but I'll just tell people real quick in case they don't know. Maybe you're going to put it in the description. But True North is an inpatient facility in San Jose, California, where most people come to water fast. It's one of the very few just well-staffed, well-run, robust, it's got a long history, water fasting clinics in the world. So people will come from all over the world. Sometimes we get whole families from India. I love it. I love meeting the people. And most people are doing a water fast. And the website is healthpromoting.com. And I think if you put in True North, you'll find it too. But yeah, a lot of water fasting. And then some people can't water fast because their medications won't work with it or something. So they'll just eat the healthy food, or they'll do a juice fast, and they also get great results. So anyway, it's often the place where people have tried everything else and they're at the end of what else can I do when it comes to different therapies to heal, and they find themselves at True North. And they don't want to change the way they're going to eat. They don't want to do it. They come kicking and screaming, some of them. And then they realize it's a beautiful, wonderful, not as hard as they thought thing. It's a really special place. And we're yeah.
So, I have about an hour's worth of content in my head, and I'm not going to do that to you.
Okay.
But there's so much more that I can talk to you about. in regards to Dr. McDougall and how I feel about him. Dr. Lyle and how he led me to Dr. McDougall and doing things differently than what I was doing with Furman. They all have their own nuances, but I feel with now that I've traveled this journey, I feel that that me being led to Lyle, that led me to McDougall's way of doing it has been really satiating and really amazing for me. So, I'll just tell you one quick thing. I mean, last night, like, I wasn't eating any even complex carbs, so I was really cutting all that out for the weight loss. But now I do wet carbs. And last night I made the most delicious short grain brown rice. I threw an entire bunch of cilantro. I chopped it super fine, a whole bunch of cilantro, a whole bunch of Italian parsley with carrots and hominy. And I cooked that together in vegetable broth. Give that a run. By the way, I threw almost the whole jar. I'm totally bananas over the Bragg's 24 herbs and 24 herbs dry. I threw like the whole thing because I cooked a whole bag of rice, a whole like 2-pound bag of rice because I make a big batch. And with little chopped carrots in it, it was magic, pure magic. So I love.
Yeah, it can be very simple.
Oh, so good. Oh, and by the way, and if I feel like going crazy, then I throw a little liquid amino at the top and an avocado, and oh my goodness, man, I'm just going crazy. So that's what I want to do with you one day. I want us to hang out one day. I'm gonna try to figure out a way to get you to Napa. I know you're not that. What town do you live in?
I live in Santa Rosa.
Oh, so you live in Santa Rosa. Just Santa Rosa is so big. So because you were saying you live like 30 minutes from True North, with it's super easy. But Santa Rosa is humongous. It would be a lot of fun. I'll stay in touch if it's okay with you. I know you're busy. I know you have a lot going on, but I like to get involved. I like to help out as much as I can, and just keep putting it out there. And I'm just having a lot of fun with this.
Yeah, and definitely I used recipe testers with my first book, so I'll probably do it again with my second book.
That would be cool.
Whenever that happens.
That would be cool.
Yeah, more the merrier. And I like hiking too, so maybe we'll do a hike sometime.
We discovered a few places out there on Bodega that just rock my world. So I'll let you know. I'll even let you know when Susan and I are there, because I just learned that one of them, right at the trailhead, there's camping right there. So, and it's, gosh, I forget, my son's told me the name 3 times. I've hiked it twice and I already forgot it, but it's an epic views. It's only 6 or 7 miles, but it's special.
Out by Bodega Bay?
North Bodega, right north of the tides. There's a great trail there.
Oh, the Jenner Headlands?
I've heard of the Jenner Headlands. No, this wasn't it.
Willow Creek?
Boy, you know them.
Yeah. There's another one that starts with Red Rock, or anyway, there's a lot of great hiking out at the coast.
Great spot. So, and that's nice, cool weather hiking. It's not like in some of the inland places that you're just going to scorch. So that would be amazing. And and then the other thing is I'll do something in my place together. I'll do a little get together, and if you want to come over and hang out with some of my friends that are in the wellness space, that would be a lot of fun.
Do you have any pets?
Oh God,
I love pets.
I was going to say, I hope that's not a deal breaker. We have 1 mixed Yorkie and 2 little 4-pound Yorkies. So it's a crazy house because we raised 4 kids, so we have to fill it with something. So there they come.
Okay. No, that's great. I have 3 cats, so I kind of miss my dog energy sometimes.
Oh God, and I do miss the cats too. It's just, and I also miss how cats are just so self-soothing, and they don't need as much as dogs, and they're not as chirpy. Cats allow you to live a peaceful, quiet life. Yes,
they're pretty easy. One was just going crazy over here, but now I see her up there starting her afternoon nap. But yeah, I never had human kids, so I put all my motherly love into my pets.
You're like my sister. My sister's an artist. Again, photographer, has done just incredible work on Indian weddings, but she's also a musician, and again, she lives a very peaceful and quiet life because she loves her kitties, and it wasn't about the kids. It was about the kitties, and she has a couple not Yorkies. She has a couple of terriers that could be pretty rambunctious at times, though.
Aww. All right, well, we'll have to get together.
I would love it. I would love it. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing the space with me. I love it. I love it. But next time we'll do, and maybe you can come. This studio, it's an actual tiny house. This studio is a 10 by 12 little tiny house, but it has a beautiful, beautiful bathroom. It has a beautiful loft. If you see, it has central heat, central air. It's the most decadent space that you can make in a 10 by 12 space. I'd love for you to see it one day. It's a lot of fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
Maybe you should have a potluck, host a potluck.
Oh, that would be amazing. That would be amazing. And then the other thing is that if you ever need to use my studio for something for you, just reach out. We'll let you use it. It's all set up, so you can use it anytime.
Does it have a kitchen?
It has a kitchen, but
Oh.
it's very small. And the countertop is made out of mango tree. It's a beautiful countertop. And then the shelves are made out of black walnut, raw edge black walnut, like the ones behind me.
Okay.
Very sweet little quaint space. The floors came out of an elevator from the 906 fires in San Francisco, and it's a beautiful old floor. It's a sweet, sweet little space. I built it for my teenage son, who now is almost 30 years old, and
Gotcha.
has my amazing grandkids that I just get to love life.
Nice. All right. Well, I'll see it someday.
You're the best. I love it.
Thank you for talking to me.
And I'll see you at True North.